Okay, lesson 5. So yesterday we looked at slope being rise over run, the steepness of a line. What we're going to look at today is just look at in terms of a formula other than just being rise over run. So if we review what we know from yesterday, what is slope? Slope is the what of a line? What were you going to say, Eric?
The slope of the line.
The slope of the line is the measure of the slope of the line?
I'm such a genius.
Steepness of the line. Okay. Slope is the ratio of the vertical change, which we call the
Rise.
over the horizontal change, which we call the run. If a line segment rises from left to right, what kind of a slope does it have? Positive. If it falls from left to right, it has a negative. If it is a horizontal line, it will have a
0.
Why does it have a slope of 0?
0 divided by something 0.
No, other way around.
0 divided by anything 0.
Because the rise in a horizontal line is equal to 0. Okay? So a vertical line, which has no run,
It's undefined design.
is undefined slope. And if I have a line segment and I'm finding the slope between points on the line segment. So if I find the slope between these 2 points and these 2 points and these 2 points and so on, what can you tell me about all of those slopes? They're the same. Good. Okay. So we're going to look at developing a slope formula. If we look at line segment AB, and we look at the slope being rise over run. So if I find 2 points on the graph, and I figure out the rise over the run of this entire line, because I don't need to just go from A to B, what would the slope be? Or even if I just go from A to B, what's the rise from A to B?
4.
3.
3. What's the run? 6. And what does that reduce to?
1/2.
Which is the same as if I had gone right here. 1 over 2. Okay? What are the coordinates of point A?
1 and 6.
1 and 6. And what about point B?
7.
Not 1 and 6, 1 and 8.
8.
And the coordinates of B would be
7 and 11.
7 and 11. Okay. Now remember what we said before, rise is a change in vertical. So which coordinates control my vertical?
Y.
The y's. So how can I use these 2 coordinates to find my rise? How can I find the 3?
7. 8.
Fran?
Y2 minus Y1.
So I can subtract the 2. So 11 minus 8, or I can write it as YB minus YA. The y coordinate from B minus the y coordinate from A. How could I find the run of the line segment using these 2 points, XA and XB? So XB minus XA, which would be 7 minus 1. Okay? So if I use these results to find this formula, my formula would be that slope would equal the rise, which we're now writing as YB minus YA, over the run, which is XB minus XA. And so if I continue that, using that formula, I get my 11 minus 8 over my 7 minus 1 There's my 3 over 6, which gives me my 1/2. So I want you to use a formula, or use this formula that we've developed, to find the slope of line segment CD and line segment EF. Okay, so for the slope of line segment CD, it's the difference in the the difference in the y coordinates. So what did you subtract for your y coordinates? 5 minus 2. Because these coordinates, this one is 2 and 5, and this one is 6 and 2. So 5 minus 2 for my y's, and then my x's would have to be 2 minus 6. Okay, I can't invert them. I have to stay the same, like I have to be consistent. So I get 3 and -4, so we bring the negative out to the front. So -3/4 ends up being my slope.
I got 2 minus 5 and 6 minus 2.
Yeah, I did it that way.
Yeah.
Which would still give you -3/4, right?
Yeah.
As long as you get.
Yeah, you're still going to get, so it doesn't, so that brings up a good point. If I went 2 minus 5, I get -3, and 6 minus 2 gives me a +4, I'm still getting -3/4. So it doesn't matter which one I start off with as long as I'm consistent. The 6 and 2 is one point, and the 2 and 5 is the other point. So I don't interchange these. I don't have, like, it's not 5 minus 2 and 6 minus 2. It has to be 1 point to the next point, 1 point to the next point for my y's and my x's. That's why it's a yb minus ya, xb minus xa. So the coordinates match up. So then if I look at the slope of EF, the y values, what did you get? What are my 2 y coordinates that I'm subtracting?
12 minus 3.
And what are the x coordinates that I'm subtracting?
12 minus 9.
Okay, so 12 minus 3 is, and 12 minus 9 is,
3.
and can I simplify 9 divided by 3? So I get 3. Do I need to put it over 1? No. So it'd just be 3. So the formula for slope, I can use it as the slope between 2 points in terms of y2 minus y1, and that's what Brianne had said earlier, x2 minus x1. Or I can look at it as the slope between 2 points p and q. The y-coordinate of q minus the y-coordinate of p, the x-coordinate of q minus the x-coordinate of p. What I need to make sure of is that I'm consistent. The p coordinates line up and the q coordinates line up. Okay? So if I look at class example number 1, finding the slope of this line, G and H. So it's taking the y and the x coordinates of H, which would be -2 and 7, and subtracting them by the coordinates of G, which would be 8 and -3. So -2 minus 8, -10, and 7 minus -3. And what is -10 divided by 10?
-1.
-1. So what can you tell me about this line?
It's fairly.
Like in terms of steepness?
Yeah.
It's kind of got, because it'd be a 1-to-1, right? It's almost like a set of stairs. Okay? But how did the set of stairs go?
The other way, left to right.
It's falling from left to right because I have a negative slope.
You're going downstairs.
I'm going down the stairs. Okay. Eleanor, Bonnie, and Carl are calculating the slope of line segments. The endpoints of the line segments are 15 and 8 and negative 10 and 6. So their answers are all different. So what you need to do is you need to go through their answers and figure out who has it correct, or do any of them have it correct, and what mistakes the other two students made. So let's start off with figuring out what is the slope of EF. So the slope of EF would be taking the y-coordinate of F minus the y-coordinate of E, the x-coordinate of F minus the x-coordinate of E. So the y-coordinate of F is 6, x-coordinate is negative 10, minus 8, minus 15. So what is 6 minus 8? And negative 10 minus 15. Negative 25. And what is a negative 2 divided by a negative 25? Positive. Okay. So actually none of the students were correct. Look at Eleanor. What mistake did she make? Kate? The solution?
She put her X's on the top. She put her run over her X.
Her X's were on the top. This should be switched around. That's the mistake Eleanor made. Had she not made that mistake, she would have actually gotten the right answer. She would have gotten the 2 over 25. Hey, what did Bonnie do?
She didn't get rid of the negative.
She didn't have F lined up with F and Q.
They're not matched up. Look, my 6 minus 8 matches here, but this part in here, she interchanged them. So she would have had like YF minus YE over XE minus XF. That was her mistake. And then Eleanor's was that it was X over Y, was her mistake. What did Carl do?
Negative 10 of positive instead of the
Yeah. Right there. So it should be a negative 10, not a positive 10. Had he done that, he would have ended up with the right answer. Okay, so what I would like you to work on now, question number 1, question number 2, A and C, and 5B.
Find the circles and
Okay, so let's look at collinear points. 2 lines in a plane can either be at an angle, which means that they would intersect each other. They could be parallel and distinct from each other, meaning that they'll never intersect. Or they could be parallel and form a straight line because they overlap each other. Points that lie on a straight line are said to be collinear. Now, the other day, what did we say about the slope from P to Q, Q to R, and P to R? They would be the same. So if I gave you a set of points and I said, are these points collinear? Instead of having to graph them, you can find the slope between the 2 points. So if I found the slope between P and Q and the slope between Q and R, and if their slopes were equal, I could then conclude that the line has to be a collinear line, or that these have to be collinear points on the line. So proving any 2 of these 3 slopes are equal is sufficient to say that the third point would be equal and that all 3 points are collinear. So we have points A, B, and C. We want to prove whether or not these points are collinear. So all I need to do is I need to pick 2 sets of slopes. I can find, and the symbol for slope, instead of having to write slope, I can write M for slope. We don't use S because S, what do we think of when we see S in a formula?
Surface area.
surface area for a capital S. Lowercase s's, I think speed. So we try to keep our variables a little bit distinct. So if I find the slope from A to B, how would I calculate the slope from A to B? What would you write?
6 minus -3.
Okay. Divided by what? 2 minus 5? Okay. What is 6 minus -3? 9. And what is 2 minus 5? And 9 minus -3 would be -3. Okay? So then I can pick 2 other points that are on that line and find the slope between those 2 points. So what 2 other points do you want to find the slope of? AC or BC? AC? So how would I find the slope of AC?
33 minus -3.
Divided by? Minus. Okay. What is 33 minus -3? 36. And -7 minus 5?
-12.
And what is 36 divided by -12?
-3.
So because the slopes are equal, the points must be collinear. Okay. So when you hear the word collinear, linear being a straight line, co meaning together on that straight line. Okay, so now I have point D that's on that line segment. I've given you the x-coordinate for D. How would I find the y-coordinate? Well, what can you tell me about the slope from point A to point D?
It's -3.
The slope would have to equal -3 because it's collinear. So now let's use the slope formula. It's the difference in the y-coordinates. So y minus -3 divided by the x-coordinates. -4 minus 5. So I get -3 equals, what's y minus -3? What can I do with the 2 negatives?
Positive.
Positive, so I can rewrite this as y plus 3. -4 minus 9, minus 5. -9. Okay, my goal is to get y by itself. So what do I get rid of first, the -9 or the 3? -9, how do I get rid of the -9? Multiply, because this is being divided. So -9 times -3. 27. Now how do I get y by itself? And what's 27 minus 3? So the y-coordinate would be 24. Okay, so now I'm going to add questions 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.